Here we go with the lab where we take a look at business. And today we are with one of my colleagues and dear friends, Dannel Fischer. Dannel has been out of school for a long time. And well, to me, it's a long time. You can fill in the blanks if you want. Originally trained in accounting and finance, but man, it feels like it's gone a long way from there. So Dannel, first question that we kind of ask everybody, what is your job title, but then what do you actually do?
Yeah, I appreciate the second question because sometimes your job title isn't all that you do. But anyways, yeah, I work for Amazon. My title is called a business intelligence engineer. And
wow.
I'll say
it sounds really important.
It sounds really important, you know. It's best not to ask questions, but yeah, basically what I do is I take data and I turn it into actionable insights for the business, specifically the hiring part of the organization. So, you know, some corporations are big enough where they can have people to specialize in certain data areas. Some are, you need to be more generic. All depends.
Okay, so let me ask you this. We're going to go off script here for just a minute.
Yeah.
I also happen to know that you, if I recall correctly, were in the Tacoma Youth Symphony.
Yeah.
And you're the best cello player I've ever heard in my life.
There you go.
So what kind of person is a data analyst, a business intelligence engineer?
Yeah.
Like describe what kind of people do you bump into that have your kind of position? Because like in my head, they like numbers and they don't like people, but you actually love people. So help me fill in the blanks.
Classic. So yeah, I think in my field, you really need to have what's called intellectual curiosity. You need to be interested in things. May they be different subject matter areas in terms of data, interested in learning and expanding your skill set, because the tools that are available today were not available 5 years ago.
Right.
And if you don't stay up with the most modern technology, then you risk falling behind. And so you always need to have that. And you also need to be able to educate people as well.
What do you mean, like educate your internal customers, like your managers?
Yeah, exactly. Like some people they just want to know what the answer is or the best thing to do is, and you need to consult them and help them achieve those results, because that's why you're here. I don't build widgets. I'm not on there on the floor pounding steel or anything like that. So really what I do is I'm a support unit for Amazon. I'm there to help people achieve whatever result that they're trying to achieve.
Okay. So when I think of a data analyst, I went through a PhD program. Some people were attracted to theory. Some people were attracted to data. The people that were attracted to data would spend, every night seemed like until 5 a.m. analyzing data. What if we do this? What if we do this? What if we do this? And to the point where we used to make fun of them and tell them, talk about a thing called paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
Meaning we spend so much time analyzing the snot out of the data, it doesn't produce actionable intelligence, which I think is kind of more your field.
Yeah.
How do you do you have a litmus test? Is it just judgment? Like, how do you know, like, okay, now we're done. Now we have what we need.
Yeah. So I guess it's I would characterize it in two different buckets. One is, what data do you have? And what questions are you trying to ask?
Right.
And most of the times the people can't even prioritize what's the best question to ask. Like when you're going into college, what questions are you asking about your future? Are you asking like, is there a certain income you want to attain? Is there a certain place you want to be? Is there like a family? I don't know. Do you need to do the family proud by, supporting the local business? So, or the family business. So like, there's a lot of different questions that are out there. And most people I find that struggle with paralysis by analysis, either they want to see everything because they don't have very good questions, or, there's just too many ways to potentially solve for a given situation.
Right. You said when you were kind of going through the program, accounting and finance, accounting and economics.
Accounting and economics. And people always gave me, A little like
No.
the econ people, they don't like the accounting people. I don't know why, but whatever.
But I think you were saying the tools that you use today were either not available or they weren't used in the same way. And I want to tie this back into what you said a minute ago about intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
Because I suspect when a new tool comes out, that there's a handful of people, maybe like you, who say, look at that. Like that could be useful. No one's paying you by the hour to go learn tools. You just go do that. Is that how that works?
I mean, you know, when you're getting started, when you're starting out, yes. I got, what is it? Here, I bought my own textbook. These textbooks don't end, man. So really the question, so self-education is a big thing. There's a lot of different like online courses for like analytics or business intelligence, subject matter, that kind of subject matter area. But really it's, if you're not going to put your dollars where your mouth is, I guess, if you don't vote with your wallet, then you're not really like going to do the thing that you said that you want to do.
Right.
So, you know, I did find myself a lot of self-education, a lot of going to meetups, messaging people on LinkedIn, even people who are subject matter area experts in the field. And you can just message them.
It's cold call them.
Yeah, just cold call them and acknowledge that you're completely ignorant. You have no idea what you're talking about. But what they do is really cool. And you want to know how they became so cool. Like, who doesn't want to get that call?
Right. Yeah. You have my number, right? I'm still waiting for that call. Yeah. That's good. That's good. So you go, like, I remember there was a position shortly out of school. This is a long time ago now. Yeah. But you were applying for, and some people go in with, you know, maybe a work sample or a resume or business cards or a thank you letter for the secretary. You went in with a whole bunch of graphics. I think you called it like business, like data visualization or something like that.
Yeah. Basically, I got in, I think it was the second interview. And actually, after the first interview, I thought, you know, it'd be really great is if I could show them.
Right.
What I can do. Show them. Yeah, don't tell them. You know, that's I think that's what they say in filmmaking. Right. Show them, don't tell them. Like, don't condescend. And so, you know, just to be able to come to a meeting and say, hey, this is what I can do. Here's a summarized report. Yeah. Like, man, that shows initiative. That shows that you're interested in what they do and you are a meaningful contributor. And in fact, many interviews now make it a requirement to finish a project or to as a test of your skills, whether or not it's in like coding or it's in solving, you know, critical thinking there's a lot of variety of tests out there, I guess.
So you talked about showing initiative, showing the interested. So there's a heuristic in management, specifically in support functions. I think of like accounting, HR, logistics, stuff like that. And the heuristic is you can't serve a business until you learn a business. Do you agree with it? Does that fit well with your experience or like más o menos?
Yeah, I think so. Like, even if it's, let's say you came into a job and you knew everything about it. You mean like you could consult the CEO day one. Guess what? You're new. Right. And sometimes that in and of itself is a barrier. Yeah. And so what you need to be able to do is not just build trust internally that you are capable, you're trustworthy, and you're somebody that can deliver results, do what you promise. That's surprisingly like something that people don't do as much, which I always thought was like, of course you do what you promise. Like, it's just what it is. But, you know, meeting your deadlines and, you know, showing up on time, you know, making sure that people know, like, you know, people know that you care about them. Sometimes those are like in and of themselves the impediments. So it's not just learning all there is to know about the subject matter area, but it's also being with people, helping people achieve a greater, something greater together. So if you love the collaborative sense of it all, then great. If you want to be achievement oriented and you're very individualistic, then, you know, you need to be aware of that for yourself and then put yourself in a situation where that's really where you're going to thrive.
Yeah. All right, let's say right now you're talking to a group of about 100 business administration seniors.
Okay.
Who say making business decisions is common sense. You don't need business analytics. You don't need business intelligence.
Nope.
You roll on your gut. Like my uncle did it, my aunt did it, my mom does it, my dad does it. Like this is not that complex. Why does it matter? And maybe in the question, if you can kind of describe the evolution of the field of management by data, but in a sense, I'm basically asking you, why does what you do matter? Why can't we just make decisions without you?
Well, so I'll start off by saying you can.
Okay.
But I don't think you're going to like where you land. Okay. There's a number of reasons why. One is every decision you make has assumptions behind it. Every single decision you have makes it as assumptions. And what data can do is kind of decouple you from your assumptions about how things do work. Because you could run a business really successfully for 10 years. And then on the 11th year, the assumption that you use to run it for the first 10 years doesn't work. You run the company into the ground. That happens all the time. So using data is a helpful way to check your assumptions, but even more so, it's a way to be objective and measurable about your goals. Like, what is a budget? What is a sales goal without data? Like, that's what it is. Like, it's not just a pipe dream. So it also, from there, once you establish those things, you can even see how you're progressing against your goals. You can see how well you're performing in certain segments. Like, you can understand your customers better, because anybody who does business needs to not just delight their customers, but needs to understand them and their motivations and what the value proposition is that they're
right. Right. All right. We talked about kind of a potential example of something where there's a common business problem, and you're using data to make the decision, not just kind of rolling on your gut. You can share your screen or whatever you want to do.
Sure.
And in a sense, we're kind of asking for a bit of an insight as to what you do, and why someone needs a business intelligence engineer, which is such an awesome title, dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Makes my mama proud. So let me get there.
Holy smokes. That's a dashboard. Okay.
This is a dashboard. It's just like, this is a dashboard. This is data.
What is the dashboard for those who have never heard of the term?
A dashboard it's just a location for reports to be shown digitally. That's it.
So it's like when you look at your car dashboard, it shows you your transmission temp, your engine temp, your speedometer, your fuel, your oil, and it just kind of shows you what's happening at the moment or whatever you ask for.
Exactly.
That's what this is.
Yeah, but the benefit of this, as opposed to like your dashboard, maybe in some of your cars, maybe if you're in a Tesla, you can, there's a little bit of interactivity, and a lot of these different dashboards, there are interactivity, and there's filters associated with them. So I just selected on this that we want to see data only from 2016. How did we do? Total sales, total profit. Okay, what is our growth rate? And so like this can answer a ton of questions like, hey, did we do better than last year?
Right.
What does that mean?
That means no, we did not do better than last year because it's red.
But sometimes that's it. That's what you need to do.
Okay.
What is our best selling product over the past 3 years? What's the best selling product? It's this guy, product 7.
Product 7.
And it counted for, 1/4. What is that? 1/4 of our total profit. That'd be a pretty important product.
And if I was interested in, by the way, what kind of, it's Power BI. Okay. If I was interested in, you don't have to do this right now, but to say, well, was product number 7, was that our best selling product last year? Or was there something unique about this year? It can tell me that too.
Yeah, it can. So if you want, look at that. 2016 is our second best product.
Ooh, okay.
Let's just look at 2015. Looks like, again, every different dashboard has its own weight. Looks like it was number 1, but honestly, when I look at this, I see year-over-year growth.
Yeah.
Negative, right?
Yeah.
Product 7 became number 1. That doesn't mean product 7 is good.
Right.
That means product 1 should have been there.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I were to do a real basic intervention here is to say, when we push product one hard, we grow more than we did the year before. Exactly. And when we go back to old standby, right, who's always ready for us, product 7, it actually doesn't give us any growth.
Exactly.
Okay. I like it.
So there's a variety of things you can do. You can see like, who is your, like, you could ask the question, who is your best customer? It's a good question, right? But there's lots of different ways to measure it. Profit margin, you can measure it like how much total profit did they give you? You can sort the results differently. So, if you're segmenting your customers, like it's not necessarily the case. Like it's not necessarily the case that it's that this customer is really good. It could be that your salesman for that customer is really good.
Right. So we might be mixing data here. Like HR analytics comes to mind, where I have Medline is just feeding the cows nonstop. We're making a ton of money, and then 2 years in a row, Medline drops. And I look back and I go, well, 2 years ago, we actually transferred that salesperson to somewhere else, or we lost them because we weren't willing to pay the bonus that they wanted or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. But I think that's oftentimes the challenge, is that you need to have data from a variety of different sources. Like, think about what you just talked about. You talked about sales data. You talked about like HR data coming in there too, right? Mm-hmm. And so this data set doesn't have that. So you'd have to commingle that somehow, which is what I would do. You'd probably create customer segments as well. You'd segment them more theoretically. I mean, there's only like 10 customers here, so maybe that's maybe that's too much. So there's a variety of ways you can look at the data, but again, like, what's the good question? Like, what's a better question than who's our best customer? Yeah. Sometimes it's a journey, and it takes guesses before you get there.
So let's say somebody puts me in as a manager, and I've been there for 30 days, and I'm still learning the business, but they've given me the title and they've given me the authority, and then I have you in my tool belt, my business intelligence guy. If that was a scenario, if I were to walk to your office, or I guess Zoom you, that's probably what would happen, right?
Yeah, everybody's Zooming.
If I was to walk to your office and say, Dannel, over the last 5 years, the last 3 years, whatever it is, what were we doing when we did the best? And you're probably going to say, what do you mean by best? Right? More specificity in the question. I said, well, man, the CEO is he's crawling all over us for growth, right? It's all about growth, not profit margin, not total profit, straight growth. What should we do for that? What is that combination of when we grow the most? What would you do? Like, where would you start? Yeah.
So you growth, right? You're looking almost at a year-over-year comparison. Is my initial gut, is what it tells me. So in 2016, we grew a little bit. 2015, we grew even less. In 2014, year-over-year, we shrunk. So, okay, what was our best performing year? 2016, right? Okay. And so from there, what's great about this is I just was able to answer that in a couple seconds. Best year, 2016. Great.
So what did we do in 2016 then? What was different about 2016? I'm just like riffing here. Like, I don't even know.
Absolutely. And by the way, I didn't make this data set, so I'm discovering it with you. Okay. And so we already discussed product 1 versus product 7, right?
Right. So product 1, we pushed product 1 more than product 7. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we had product 1. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this average profits. You see, kind of, there's this on a month-by-month basis, January through December.
Big swing.
What's going on? How that's moving.
September hurt us. What the heck happened in September?
Well, so it's possible that September always is terrible.
Is it? Okay.
There's like 7 million that September. There was 6 million that September. So,
it's just not our best month. It's a cyclical product, maybe. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is where like a lot of people get into trouble, is you see how this scale starts at 0. You see how this starts at 7?
Yeah.
Or like 6 or 6,000.
The axes really matter.
Be careful. because it looks like September's like 0, right? It looks like it's 0, but I hover over and the tooltip says 6.6 million. Okay.
Right.
So this is where like a lot of people get tripped up is they see down is bad, red is bad. Well, what's the figure? You need to always know that, because otherwise that's how people use this kind of stuff poorly.
Yeah. And then in that case, I suppose the opposite of the intention, using data to make a crappy decision.
Yeah, you can also use it to make terrible decisions. You honestly can, and you need to be any decision maker needs to have the wherewithal to know what's the good question to ask and where is that question leading. You need to have that thought through, which means you need to understand your business. You need to understand how people conceive of how things operate. You know, if you're looking at like if you're in a supply chain, if you're having like a churn rate further upstream or some sort of bottleneck, you know that's going to affect production further downstream. So what kind of financial impact would that have? So a good question would be at the first tier of your supply chain, if you have a 1% decrease in throughput, how is that going to affect total sales?
Right.
That's like specific, measurable.
Right.
Great.
Pretty straightforward regression.
Yeah.
So in your role, do you spend most of your time producing data for someone else to make a decision? Or do you say, based on the data, this is what I think we should do and here's why? Is it more descriptive or more prescriptive?
Honestly, it's both. Like if you're in the data, you see it, you know what's going on, you have your own opinion. So some managers want your opinion, some managers don't. The best managers want as much insight as possible. Yeah. And they want to be able to make the decision themselves. So that's why they're there, that's why they're paid, which is great. And oftentimes what I find is the people who don't ask for other people's opinions don't gain more insight. Those are the people who tend to make worse decisions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or how about this? They tend to make poor decisions more frequently. Maybe that's a better way to say that.
So let's look at, let's see the last little bit of time here. Let's look in the future. So if you were to think about where, let's just pick the one we were just looking at using Power BI, where Power BI was in its utilization 10 years ago versus today. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't think it existed 10 years ago.
And so with processing speed of computers, with big data, right? Data collection techniques getting more sophisticated, talking about huge sets of data points, predicting different algorithms. Where are we like, are we headed full on AI running corporations, or like where are we headed?
So it's funny because you have to understand the nature of the problem. All data that has existed before the year 2000 is the same amount of data that we've gotten in the last 20 years. Okay, that's a problem. That's
terrifying.
That's a problem. Why is that a problem? Because we don't understand it. We don't know what's going on. So hold
on. I want to put that in perspective.
Yeah.
You're not saying like all the data on businesses. You're like all the information in the world.
All the data that exists in humanity before 2000 is the same amount of data that we've made in the last 21 years, I guess.
And if that's the case, it suggests to me, I mean, I wasn't really good at trigonometry, but with the hyperbola and parabola, you know, that stuff, that suggests to me it's not going to take another 10 years before that happens again. It's going to take another 5 years or 4 years.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's we
might be doubling data every year or bigger.
Yeah, we'll get to that point, I'm sure. But so that's the nature of the problem. What's the solve? Well, first we brought in people to organize data. We thought if we were more organized, that would solve it. No, it didn't, because every 5 to 10 years we have to reorganize it, and you lose a step. Okay, what about if we create forecasts, and so we have an idea of what we can do, add some statistics in there, you know. Okay, great, helpful, but that's actually creating more data, so that's not really even helping either. So then we create algorithms, and we have people like data scientists that help create models that learn over time. And what's really fascinating about those is those algorithms are built for specific purposes. So is it going to help you drive your car? No. Will it predict customer retention? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
that's a meaningful question,
millions
right?
of dollars. Okay, right.
Right. So like
You can buy a car that drives itself. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think AI, it's you have to remember Tesla isn't emailing like Microsoft, who isn't emailing NASA, who isn't emailing there's not a large conspiracy about it all, but it's a really loose confederation of companies that have similar ideas that are competing with each other to try to gain an advantage. And so they're going to keep pushing the envelope of what's possible. And I think that's ultimately a good thing for us, because if we didn't do that as our market economy, we'd all be in typewriters. We'd be using those things.
Right.
And so I think that it's helping us solve the problem of more data.
I saw a commercial in the most recently in the NFL season, which is the only sport that I follow because there's just not that many games. I'm sorry for the Mariners fan.
I love my Mariners. I really do.
But it was about Watson, which I think is an IBM product, right?
Yeah.
What is Watson? Is it just like when you type a question into Google, it uses a particular algorithm? Is that all it is, or is it more sophisticated?
I mean, so think about it this way. It is many different tools put together meant to work well. So if you think about let's start with a simpler example than just Watson.
Okay, thank you.
Your phone. Have you ever used talk to text? Have you ever used that?
Yes, all the time.
Okay.
Sometimes it's really embarrassing what comes out, but yes.
Okay. Do you know what it took to make talk to text?
No.
Google had a phone number back in the 90s and to the early 2000s that you needed to call into. I think it was like 411. What they did was you spoke like, where is Papa Murphy's? Well, Papa Murphy's wasn't a thing back then. Oh gosh. Like where was Pizza Hut or Taco Bell or whatever.
Right.
And they would record your voice, and they would basically got so many recordings, they could be able to translate sounds, tones, and inflections in your voice to actual words. And it's funny, if you have friends who have an accent, talk to text doesn't always work.
Right.
Because
but they have multiple languages.
Yeah, it's working. Like if you have, it depends. Like, but even think about the word like a, or the sound a, like, is that ER or is that like the first letter in the alphabet?
Yeah.
It depends on how you speak, right?
I bought a car. I bought a car. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so really there's a whole bunch of effort that's been put into that. And so what Watson is I'd say it is a loose collection of tools. It's a collection of tools. It's not loose. Now it's a tight collection of tools.
Right.
That is a machine that runs on like quantum computing, which is a fancy word for huge servers. That helps I'll say like predicts things. I'll just say that. So either playing chess, what is the best play you can make? And so what it does is it analyzes in real time all the different permutations and possibilities that exist in order to play chess.
Okay, so let me I'm going to harken back for a minute to the question I asked 5 or 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't lead you there, man.
No, it was perfect. If Watson can beat you, a business intelligence engineer, at predicting the next chess move, although you would smoke me in chess, but that's a whole other discussion. If it can beat you at predicting that in terms of speed, service, access to information, synthesis, why isn't the future just a whole bunch of really awesome Watsons? And why are you and I not me? I'm thinking about like my job as instruction and management. Give everybody a pretest, figure out where they are and everything, run the algorithms and say, this is how you're going to be awesome, and train people that way.
Right. Well, so
is that a possible future?
I mean, I can't see, honestly, I can't see that running our lives because of the competitive market economy that we're in. It's actually really helpful. That decentralized power is really a really helpful thing. So if one tech company gets out of line, then maybe another tech company is going to do something that's going to attract customers their way. For example, I believe Apple, they're trying to become the privacy company. And so what they're doing is they're requiring all of their app developers to be able to give people the affirmative option to be able to select, I want to share this information, this information, this information.
And if not, then you don't get on the App Store. Yeah.
Exactly. So like that's a stance that Apple's choosing to take, that
you're selling like a moral product in that way.
Well, yeah, I think that a lot of companies are trying to become more moral in terms of like the current zeitgeist. Moral is a big word.
Sure.
James, it's a big word. So like as moral as a company could be, I guess. Yeah. So like what I'm saying is, the nature of our decentralized society means that you're always going to have competition, and the U.S. government's there to help like regulate, because companies can get out of control and be monopolistic and try to take over things. So you need to have a government agency to help look out for what people vote for. So It's not as if like things are running our lives. I will say, this thing that frightens me is that if we're automating specific tasks that someone otherwise did, where are they going?
Yeah.
So their task gets automated. Right. Because it's not necessarily the case that they're going to find a job in the first 12 months. So they have a bit of brain drain, right? Or two, that they have the cognitive ability to even do that.
Right. So if we automate jobs, that the people in those jobs, that is their only applicable skill set, and there may be threats to retraining them, then they're kind of stuck.
Yeah, people can get stuck, which is why like things like electricians, believe it or not, they get paid so much money now. Why? Yeah. Because you can't automate
pulling wire through the wall. Yeah,
it's a requirement, and people need it more and more. So like I think that when people are looking to make life decisions, they need to be asking themselves, okay, what am I going to do? What do I enjoy doing? What is going to help me achieve what I want to achieve in life? Yeah. And then not be afraid to, I know I hate to just throw some spaghetti against the wall.
Right.
Like, you're young, you have a chance to take risks. Like the risk for you to try a new career when you're 50, man, that's real hard. Like your knees are giving out, like you like what's comfortable, you're eating your, I don't know, like
cream of wheat probably.
Yeah. For some reason, when I went to my grandma's house, she always had corned beef. So that's how I think.
There it is.
People who are there. So like, I think that you're young, take risks, and see what happens. And it's okay. You're gonna run into barriers, and you're gonna have an opportunity to overcome them if you choose. If you choose.
My last question is, what advice would you give? So I think you just did it.
Yeah, I'll say
roll the dice.
Well, I just say like, what do you really have to lose?
Yeah.
What do you have to lose? Like, what is, if you do choose to take that backpacking trip in Europe, great. What are you using that for? Yeah. Like, make something really cool out of that. Yeah. Do something that's valuable out of that. And if you can't create value out of those experiences, then that's where you get into trouble.
Maybe pick a different experience.
Yeah, pick a different experience where you're actually going to create value, and that's good.
Awesome. Dannel, thank you for your time. Thanks for hanging out. I know you're a busy guy creating intelligence that did not yet exist. Make those decisions. Yeah, you're awesome, dude.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. So it's good to see you, James.
Talk to you soon.
Cheers.